Today's video contains rantings and differing opinions about the FDA and Big Pharma, so stand by. Well, hey folks, welcome back to Liberty DIY. Today I am going to be taking this jar of fermented garlic and I'm going to pickle them up. I'll explain why in a few seconds, but to get things started, I got to get some water boiling. I got to get these jars that are all clean and in the oven so they can heat up and get sanitized. So let's get started on all that right now. All right, got 8-pint jars here. Gonna get them in the oven. Gonna get that thing set up. 350 degrees, start. Let that go until they're nice and hot. That'll sanitize them. And now we gotta get some water in the pan. All right, let's get a gallon of water in here. I don't think that's gonna be enough. Let it get a little bit more. Another half gallon, that should be enough. You wanna have enough water in this water bath canner so when you drop the jars in there using this, that all the jars will disperse the liquid to where there's a good ½ inch to an inch of water above the top of the jars. So we're gonna get this started heating up, getting it preheated, and we'll get on to making our brine. All right, now we gotta make our basic brine. I'm just doing water and vinegar. I'll be putting my spices and stuff in the jar as I go. I'm gonna make a little bit more than I think I need. I got some 5% acidity white distilled vinegar here. I'm gonna go overboard just to make sure I don't run out. I'm gonna put 4 cups of vinegar in here. It's probably way too much, but it's cheap. So 1 cup. 2 cups, 3, and 4. Now we'll add 4 cups of water. I'm not using the water on my faucet because that water in that faucet is disgusting. 1 cup. 2 cups. 3 cups and 4. Okay. Now we'll get this on the stove and get her up to a boil. Okay, now we need to get this thing boiling. Make sure I select the right burner. We'll get that up to temp. All right. Here's the garlic. Smells delicious. Why is my phone dinging? I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna get in the colander here. And we're gonna get it rinsed off before we get it packed in the jars. One more, come on, get out of there. All right. Cold water. Gonna let all that city water drain off of there while we wait for the brine to get up to temperature. Okay, I got everything pretty much ready to go. I don't have any water here for my lids yet. It'll be a little while for that. Brine's boiling. The jars are finishing their sanitization. I got the water bath canner warming up, and the garlic is back in there in the sink draining off all that nasty city water. But I want to say a few things, like everybody out there is like promoting the health benefits of this, health benefits of that, and guess what? If you can grow it, it's probably healthy. That's why the FDA doesn't support it and doesn't back it, because they can't make a profit off of it. And it irritates me to no end that we have all these options out here for healthy eating, And in our face every single day in the marketing world out there, we're getting shoved all these pills and drugs and things that always have a disclaimer about side effects. They're doing it because they make money off of it and they make you feel good. But it doesn't heal anything, it doesn't cure anything. But garlic, it's like a wonder drug. Now the FDA is probably going to cancel this video because I said it's a drug, but it really isn't. It's nutrition. It's good for you. It's good for your cardiovascular system, big time, lowering cholesterol, all the different types of triglycerides. It's good for your liver. It's good for your kidneys. It's good for your pancreas. It's good for your entire gastrointestinal system. It's just plain flat out good for you. And if you can ferment it and make it even better by fermenting it, go for it. You know, it blows my mind that because it's natural and anybody can grow it, Big Pharma and the FDA are like, oh no. It's got to be approved by us. Well, they only approve things that makes them a profit. You guys kind of picking up what I'm talking about here? It's ridiculous that I gotta slow this one down. It's ridiculous that we have all these options out here. I mean, look at right here. This is garlic being fermented in honey. This is delicious. It is really good. You get a spoon in there, grab one clove and a whole spoonful of honey once a day. My goodness. And it's good for you. And I got some good local honey too. I'm not sure exactly if that's healthier when it comes to like your allergies or whatever, but there is some truth to back it up. I just haven't seen it because I don't have any allergies, so I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know, but I do like it. It's good, and I know it's good for you. But yeah, Big Pharma, FDA, screw them. It's all about profit for them. It's all about making money, and it's stupid. And they're always sitting there saying, oh, well, we can't do this, or you have to put a label on it that it's not FDA approved, etc., etc. And it's all a marketing campaign from them to make sure we, or any of us who know how to grow something or can learn how to grow something in our backyard, can't take care of our own bodies and take care of our own health because they want to take care of it. But they're not wanting to heal it, they're just wanting to treat it as long as they possibly can. Because every time you buy a bottle of pills from them, they make money. And that's why it's just ridiculous why I don't get it. But I'm really happy there's a huge movement right now, pretty much in our country, where people are starting to get out there and understand that you can take care of yourself better naturally without buying a bottle of pills. You know, I got two friends, a family member that died from cancer in the past few years, and it's sad. The drugs that they gave them killed them. The chemo, the radiation, all that stuff, it killed them. And one of the people that passed away, they actually stopped taking all the drugs and all that stuff, and they added 10 years on their life before the cancer actually came in and actually killed them. I mean, goodness gracious, if they hadn't taken the radiation and the chemo and all that stuff and just stuck with the natural stuff, maybe they could have gone for 20 years. I don't know. But there's a lot of stuff to back it up when you look and dig for it. But, you know, a lot of these big internet companies they're kind of in bed with Big Pharma because Big Pharma pays them a lot of money. So they kind of, you know, hide that from everybody. And that sucks. But hopefully I can give you a little bit of insight on what I do with something that's really simple. That makes you healthier, makes you feel better, keeps everything working inside your body better, and it's just a simple plant that you can grow in the ground in your backyard, or even in a pot in your living room if you really wanted to go that route. Anyway, rant's over. We're almost ready to go ahead and jar these things up, so we're going to get started on that right now. All right, the jars have been in there at 350 degrees for 10 minutes. So they're plenty sanitized. We're gonna go ahead and get them out, get them set up. And actually, before I do that, I need to get my lids started on their sanitizing cycle. Shouldn't take but a few minutes to get this up to a boil, get them all nice and hygienic. Back there. Okay, make sure I got that one last little tool I need, wherever it went. I need my little magnet. There it is. Got my magnet. Alright, so let's get some jars out. I think I can turn the oven off now. So I completely washed, scrubbed out with hot soapy water, rinsed and rinsed and rinsed until there was no soap residue left. Then they went into the oven to make sure all the little buggers on there were dead, if there was any buggers on there. I don't think I'm gonna need all 8 of these jars, but just in case, I got 8 of them ready. Probably only gonna need about 6, because that gallon jar of garlic was not full. Get that there. Let's close this up. Get our garlic sitting over here. We'll bring the brine over here in a second, but let me get you guys right up here so you can see what I'm doing. Jars are hot, so this rubber glove is not going to do anything. I'm just using it to grab the garlic. First thing we got to do though is I need to get a good decent amount of dill into every jar. I could use something to mash that down. I'm going to go with 6 jars for right now and leave a little bit of dill left over just in case I have more garlic than I think I do. Get all that in there. So all I'm using for this is just dill, nothing else. The lids are getting ready to start boiling here in a second. Make sure I put plenty of dill in everything. Leave enough for one spare jar. Yep. Telling you folks, if you can grow it and Big Pharma can't make a profit, it's probably healthier than a bottle of pills. Now, I'm not stupid. There are some diseases out there that actually need a little bit of help. And I get it, I really do. But prevention's half the career. So you can eat, if you can eat healthy, that will help prevent those diseases from happening in the first place. I think we're fairly well across there. I better slow this thing down just a little bit. I lost my, when I moved down here from Minnesota, I lost my funnel, so we're just going to do without today. If you're doing this, remember, jars are hot. starting to wonder if I could have fermented the dill with the garlic. Would that have transferred the flavor across? I'm gonna have to try that. I don't know. I'm no expert, so take everything I'm doing here with a grain of salt, make your own decisions, all that good stuff. But I've done this several times and it comes out pretty stinking good every time. Actually, when I moved from Japan 4.5 years ago, I had to, nobody would take it. I had to throw away over probably 8 or 9 pints because you can't ship that stuff overseas because it's not, guess what, FDA approved, right? So this is actually my first big batch I've made since then. I think it's going to come out pretty good. Looks like I miscalculated or calculated, or however you want to say it, pretty stinking close. We're going to have 6 jars here. Pretty much on the money, actually. Look at that. And I even got a little bit of dill left over for something else. All right, next, what we want to do, those jars are hot. Get these jars out of the way, that's what I'm doing next. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put, for flavor preservation only, you don't have to do this, but I am putting, now these have already been lacto fermented, I get it. They use a lot of salt to get that done, but just to preserve the flavor, I'm putting a 1/4 teaspoon of salt into each jar. That way it stays nice and fresh tasting if it takes me 3 or 4 months to eat all of this. Okay, now that's just regular sea salt, no iodine. Don't use the stuff with iodine. Ugh. Don't do that. The other thing I'm using is I'm using calcium chloride. This is also a salt, right? This is sodium chloride that I put in here, sea salt. This is calcium chloride, another form of salt. This is what's gonna make this stuff crunch. Make it nice and give it that texture, kind of like a pickle, right? This one does not take much. For each pint, 1/8 of a teaspoon. So basically half of this little 1/4 teaspoon thing I got. Put in there. It don't take a whole lot. And you don't want to put too much either. So 1/8 of a teaspoon of calcium chloride per jar. Okay, got that in there. Next, time for brine. This is where I wish I hadn't lost my funnel, my canning funnel. All right, so we got a mixture of 1 part water. I used bottled water to avoid the junk in the city water, and I got 1 part of 5% acidity white distilled vinegar. We're gonna go ahead and ladle this in, and we're gonna get it up to about 1/2 inch from the top of the jar. See, I already know I made probably twice as much brine as I needed, but I didn't want to run out and have to make more halfway through the process. And the vinegar's cheap, so that's what I did. Do it your way. I don't care. I won't tell on you. All right, before you cap these, you need to make sure there's no air in there. I'm just gonna use a clean knife, run it down the sides, make sure any air bubbles in there, and there was definitely air bubbles in that. That liquid dropped. Okay. Get those air bubbles worked out of there. It'll just help the canning process go a whole lot smoother. You won't have any blowouts or siphoning, things like that. There's a lot of air trapped down there by that dill. I'm going to grab a couple out of here. This one's kind of a little bit filled up more than the others. Okay. Make sure your product is down. Come back now that we've dropped the liquid level a little bit. Make sure it's up there about pretty much with that bottom ring right here. That's pretty much where you want to be on these normal mouth, regular mouth jars. Okay, let's get this out of the way. There's that. I gotta go find a paper towel. I'll be right back. All right, got my jar of vinegar, jug, whatever. Got a towel. Get some vinegar on it. Don't take a whole lot. And go around and wipe that rim really good. Make sure there isn't any funky stuff like pieces of garlic on it or dill that will compromise your seal when you're canning it. Okay. Lids. Magnet. Magnet. Lid. Let's get a lid on each one. Okay, got lids. Get rid of the magnet, get rid of the other two lids I don't need, and try to figure out where I put the rings. I knew I put them somewhere. They're right here, sitting by the onions. All right, finger tight, folks. That's it. This is finger tight. It's a hot jar. Finger tight is, you screw this on. There's so many people that debate this. Get this thing screwed down to where it touches down. Grab the jar. As long as you can hold on to it, just a quick snug spin and it's finger tight. These jars have cooled down a little bit, but not enough to where I'm going to be worried about them cracking when I get them into the canner. Okay, now we're going to take them, put them in the canner. Jar's going in the canner. At this point in time, I might want to point out, go ahead and get your heat started again, but don't let it go too long because you don't want to have a temperature shock in these jars. You'll break them, right? Right now it's plenty hot, but these are still pretty warm, so they'll acclimate pretty quickly. But now's a good time to get them started. Last 3 jars. Okay. Now's the time you put it in the water. Don't wait for the water to boil. before you drop the jars in there, because the temperature difference between this and that water is going to break your jars. All right. What you can do to kind of alleviate, if you think it's a little bit close, slowly get it in there. I don't have enough water, so I get to add more, which means it's going to take a while before it gets up to a boil. And once it gets to a boil, then I will start the timer for 10 minutes, kill the heat, and then I'll let it set and kind of cool down quite a few degrees before I lift it out. So close, I probably should have put 2 full gallons of water in there. You want to just barely cover the top of your lids there. So since I'm now making the water a lot colder and just over the top, now I gotta sit around and wait for a while. So I'll turn the camera off. I'll bring you back when the water's boiling, show you what it looks like. And we'll set a timer for 10 minutes. Okay, I had to stop that whole process for a second because I forgot something. I forgot something that I really, really wanted to try. Let's get this up here for a second. So, many years ago, I was really into growing super hot chilies in my garden. I grew a bunch of stuff, habaneros, Thai chilies, and ghost chili peppers, and a few other ones I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. This is long before the Carolina Reaper came out and stuff like that. But what I did, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but what I did was I took all those peppers and I dried them out. I dehydrated them, and then I mixed them in with basically, it's a Japanese version of Everclear. It's like a really high proof clear alcohol, and I let it sit in the fridge, shaking it up. Well, what I did was actually I dehydrated the peppers, and then I ground them up in a food processor into a powder, and then I mixed them into jars, pretty much just like this 1 quart mason jar, and I put this alcohol in there to extract the capsaicin out of it, right? Because I wanted to get the actual extract. And I got quite a bit of it, and this is this beauty right here. That's what that is. It is some really, really potent stuff. I mean, it's bad. I mean, like, just put a toothpick in it and you can season an entire pot of chili. What I want to do is I want to take one of these jars of pickled garlic and season it a little bit and see what happens. So let's get you back down here so you can see the action. So here's a jar. This is I'm gonna say probably, goodness, probably around, extract from probably around 20 pounds of peppers, and that's everything: ghost chilies, habaneros, Thai chilies, and a few other really super hot. Some serranos I think were in there as well. I do remember I tasted this quite a few years ago. I made this probably about 8 years ago, and it's it'll last for a while. But I know that the ghost chilies, which I had a pretty big pot full, I dehydrated them in a smoker, so they actually imparted some of that smoke flavor into this extract, which is basically the spawn of Satan himself. I mean, it is just bad. But in small doses, very small doses, you can get some good flavor out of it. And all I'm going to do is take this chopstick and I'm going to dip it in there, and that's it. As a matter of fact, I'm not that brave, I'm going to shake some of it off. And I'm going to get some of that in there. It's basically an oil. You can actually see it floating to the top there. And this one jar, I'm going to have to label as experimental, but I want to try it. Now this thing, I'm not touching it. It's going straight in the trash. Now I haven't touched anything that this stuff has touched, but I still gotta go scrub my hands really good. Otherwise I'm gonna be burning like when they hit me with the CS gas and all that stuff when I was in boot camp. And I went through all those other trainings. I can't use a Sharpie, but I know what I can do. Is I'll put a scratch in the lid. That way, that won't wash off. I'll make an X. Straight from the devil himself. But I bet you it tastes pretty good, because I remember that smoky flavor, even though it burned a hole through my tongue and oh, it was bad. It cleared my sinuses for about 2 weeks straight. But we're gonna try it out. I'm gonna get this thrown back in the water bath. It's about to boil, so I'll bring you over there in a second. All right, folks, you can see we're at a rolling boil here. So now, put the lid on, set the timer, really simple. Hey Siri, set timer for 10 minutes.
10 minutes starting now.
There we go. And in 10 minutes, we'll come back and we'll get to the next step. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Now it's time to turn the heat off. Take the lid off. And then we're gonna take the jars out of the water. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually, because I'm not like processing a whole bunch of stuff right now, I'm gonna let them start cooling down right here slowly so I don't break any jars. And this is kind of a high value product in a way because it's a lot of garlic and I'm only making one batch. So I'm gonna let them cool down here, start cooling down probably for about 20 minutes, then I'll move them off on the counter and make sure all the seals seal up. If I was doing like, you know, a couple wheelbarrows full of tomatoes, then I wouldn't worry about it because out of that's like probably 50 jars. I'll risk a couple of them cracking. I'll take them out right now, put them on the counter, drop the next 7 in and go. But in this case, I'll let them start cooling down here, lowers the risk of breaking a jar, and it just, you know, less loss basically. So let that cool down for about 20 minutes and then we'll get them on the counter and we'll end the video. Okay, they've been resting there for about 20 minutes. We're gonna get them on the counter. We're still boiling a little bit in there. Some of the seals have sealed. I'll let these pretty much cool off overnight before I get them on the shelf. The extra spicy one, I'll let it set up for probably a couple weeks, and then I'll jump in there and give that one a taste test. That's the spicy one right there. Alright folks, that pretty much concludes the video. This is how I do it. You don't have to do it the way I do it. You can do it the way other people's do it. But you gotta remember, if you can grow it in your backyard and eat it and the FDA does not approve it, then it's probably really, really healthy for you. Because they only approve stuff that makes them a profit, so they can go out and buy another Lamborghini or another yacht or go on a cruise. So you gotta look at the fine details. I'm happy eating what I grow, and if I can barter for stuff like this from somebody that grows it organically in the right way without using all kinds of crazy chemicals, that's what I'm gonna do. So this is what I do. You can do it your own way. Got some more videos coming up, and I'll see you on those ones.